Good morning, lady.
Hey, how's it going? Just want to acknowledge you were right. We did not get around to recording until 2026. So you called it. I was wrong. Um,
I don't even remember it.
the days have been a blur between then and now.
Yeah, yeah. They really, I mean, the whole 2025 is a blur.
I think at the end there, I was just fueled by optimism and coffee.
I mean, those are the two things. That's it. That's all we need right
That's all
there.
we need. Oh my gosh. Well, we made it
Yeah.
ish.
Um,
Did you hit your deadline? Did you get what you needed done?
I don't want to talk about it. No,
All right.
just kidding.
Fair enough.
My deadline is tomorrow. Is
Okay.
today Thursday?
Who knows?
Yeah,
Probably.
the second. Uh,
Did you
and I am
say just suck it?
January 2nd.
I thought you said tomorrow, just suck it.
Just suck it.
Just suck it. This is
No,
this
no,
is
the
what we're at.
second.
Okay, the second. Got it.
The
Okay.
second. Yeah,
Although the other
that's
version may be appropriate too.
for a million percent. Um, I was tempted to email my editor and be like, "Ugh, I need till Sunday. But I'm pretty confident that I could finish by tomorrow, 11:59 p.m. So
Wow. How many words have you been doing to get that close?
listen, this month, not this month anymore, last month, December, was my PR month, my personal record for writing words. I
Okay.
think I did 45,000 words for the whole month, which
Oh my gosh.
a lot of people do, like NaNoWriMo, when they're like
Sure.
50,000. Sure. I've never done that. I
That is
can't do
awesome.
that.
Congratulations.
So I'm really excited that I actually did it. And I still have to do like 10,000 more. I'll do today and tomorrow. But the back end of a story is always easier for me to write
Oh
than
yeah.
act one. So like now it's just flowing. And then the past 2 days I took my first stuff and I put it in pro writing aid and just went through and like did a lot of self editing, which was good because I found a lot of plot holes and I was like, oh, damn. So yeah, burnt out is real right now. So, but I'm pushing through it and I'm going to take some days off next week.
Good.
Next week is rest week.
Good.
So, how are you? How are you holding up?
Wow. I'm a shattered husk of a woman. Um, no, it's been all right. We're
Optimism and coffee. Optimism
optimism
and
and coffee.
coffee.
Okay. Let me just caffeinate myself. So I mean, there's a work element too that like end of the year is just a really hectic time of year for me. But that aside, creatively, let's see. I finished Becca Syme's manuscript first challenge,
That is
which I was
awesome. I saw you on Threads. Yes.
very, very,
Congratulations.
thank you. Um, I was very glad that I did that, but I probably won't do it in December again. I think I just need to, in the future, go into the calendar for next year and just put in a little message to myself and say, don't take on anything, like nothing. And it's interesting because I was saying to someone else, like, because I say, where are you fitting it in? And I think the difference between like this challenge and maybe a getting words challenge for me is that it didn't actually, the challenge wasn't just about words, it was about mindset.
Yeah. Yeah, her challenge was just open your manuscript first thing in the morning.
Right.
Yeah.
So forego whatever your brain tends to go towards first thing in the morning. Um, and again, this was something I learned from her podcast was about people who are data sensitive, which I think I probably am. And so it was good for me to make sure that that first input of data was was my project. And what I found was when I started the morning, and people who are into like morning routines and stuff like that probably already know this, but what I found was that when my manuscript or my project was the first data point in the day, it tended to have a ripple effect through the rest of the day where I was coming back to it repeatedly. So even if it was just a minute or two in the morning, sometimes that would actually buy me 15 or 30 minutes in the evening, even if I was tired. So I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah.
Um, I did eat a lot of cheese. That was my
Oh,
emotional support snack through December.
you should message Becca and just be like, this was great. It worked for me. I did it,
Yep.
but I ate a lot of cheese.
Oh, she supported me in that endeavor. She commented and she approved. Um,
I love that.
I did add a fruit element to it by having my cheese with preserves. So it was just a cheese and fruit pairing all the way
Yeah,
through.
very European. Oh.
Oh yes, that's exactly why I was doing it. It was just so that I could be European. It's so funny though. Do you find yourself moving through like snacks of choice through different phases of
Yeah.
things? Like I tend to rotate through. December was cheese.
Usually, whatever I rotate through, there's always some kind of carb involved, though. I am a carb girl.
Crackers? You put the cheese on.
Crackers or mini bagels or bagel
Mm,
chips or
yeah.
just some kind of hearty carb. Though right now I'm doing almonds. Like I have this craving
Nice.
for lightly salted almonds.
Oh, that sounds really good.
That would go great with your cheese and fruit.
It would actually, yes. Um, there was some
So,
charcuterie moments I was very proud of too, but it's interesting too, like dopamine wise, I find I do better when I snack alongside the task versus snacking as a reward. Um, Snacks don't motivate me at the end, they motivate me through the middle. So, yes,
beverages, coffee, tea.
coffee. Apple cider was a big feature in
Oh,
December.
that's
That
right.
was,
Your apple
yeah,
cider.
I did love me a little apple cider. And I found a nice we're just getting on a sidetrack here, all the way to snacks, but I found a delightful white cranberry and peach fruit juice that we had with a little prosecco on Christmas Day. That was lovely too. I was rather partial to that.
Did you
Doesn't
heat it
have to.
up?
No, cold. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
Very nice.
it was a snacky December. Let's just call it that. But I was
Yes.
able to complete something. So I count that as like, that's the thing. And I,
Yeah, it's hard when you have to balance everything on and try to remember you're doing a challenge.
yes. And I think, especially first thing in the morning, I didn't realize how, I don't think I realized quite how many rhythms I had in the morning that were just so instinctive. That muscle memory of reaching for the phone and making the coffee and doing all these things that are very, um, like looking back, they're far more
Automatic or
predictable than I realized. Yeah.
yeah.
And so hijacking those patterns in December of all times was very hard at the beginning. But I think that's the idea of the exercise was just to be aware, like just be aware of how
Yeah.
you where that muscle memory is. Um, so yeah, I would say all in all a
And
success.
yeah, and to get yourself to create a new habit of keeping your manuscript forefront in
Yeah,
the front of your mind there.
yeah. Um, there is that sense always, and I think we've talked about this before, that sense of like when you have all these other not obligations, responsibilities, because I'm happy to have them. I wouldn't want to be without them, but they are things that pull me other directions.
Mhm.
Um, you have to get real scrappy. You have to get really determined. And I was talking to someone and they asked me specifically about how I got things done, how I was able to get a book done with a family and all these other things in the last however many years. And And I was scrappy. Like I remember the little margins of my life that I found to create in just to try and get a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more. Um,
Yeah.
so
Well,
yeah,
working full time
yeah,
and having a large family
yeah.
and balancing all that. Yeah, you've got priorities,
Mhm.
and it's like you have to forego some things,
Yeah.
compromise if you want to fit the writing in. Me, I forego cleaning. So,
Okay. And to be honest, there were times I was foregoing sleeping. Like you choose that extra
oh,
little bit, or either
no,
beginning or end
no,
of the day.
CJ.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Someone said to me one time a few years ago, like, how do you get it all done? And I'm like, well, number one, I don't. And number two, I don't sleep. I tried to change that in 2025 because I realized that didn't have
Yeah.
longevity. And 2025 for me was about finding longevity. Um,
Do
so
you feel like do you feel like you got close?
got close to sleeping sometimes.
Well, close to finding a routine, finding
No.
a comfortable, where you weren't foregoing sleep or you weren't,
Yeah. That's a good question. Ish. I think in terms of like just being aware and of sustainable or unsustainable practices, yes, mission accomplished. Do I always listen? No. Um, the, I don't know how it is for other caregivers, but for me, there's a tremendous guilt around choosing one thing over another thing when everything feels like it's urgent or important. Um, and so there's always that challenge for me of like, if I'm choosing this, I'm not choosing the other thing. And across the board, I mean, I don't just mean choosing writing versus other things. I mean, choosing other things versus writing as well. It's not
Yeah.
always a one-to-one happy balance thing. So I think instead of like for me, instead of balance, what I look for is cohesion. Can I find a way
Hmm.
that creativity is cohesive with my life versus trying to keep things balanced? Because I've given up on balance. Balance doesn't serve me anymore.
I feel like
Cohesion.
balance or finding that or cohesion even like is seasonal. It's
Oh, totally.
yeah,
Um,
pending what season is it?
yes. Um, and so I go through, I think, periods of cohesion and non-cohesion with creativity. Then I think we talked about too, like in strengths a while back about how even if I don't have consistency, I have these other things that create consistency for me. And so it's coming back to those things and like falling back into those patterns, which again is why I think the manuscript challenge was both easy and challenging at the same time. It was the right kind of challenge for me to try and complete. So, yeah. And then the other thing with the longevity and sustainability that I was saying is letting that fallow field idea, that concept of like letting things lie fallow for a while. And that's why my goal in 2026 is very different. Um,
You share.
well, creatively, my number one goal is I want to go to the movies more.
Oh,
Yeah.
what's that? That is
Yeah.
not what I was expecting you to say.
Yeah. Um, I I'm a rewatcher. I like watching, especially TV shows again and again if they're favorites, especially if I feel like I can really sink into the storytelling of things. But I realized how much I loved and missed going to the theater, going to the movie theater. Um, there's a routine, a pattern, sort of, like yeah, there's like a whole
Out
thing.
of
This
your house,
popcorn.
you're
Yes.
like
Yeah.
enjoying it's almost like a luxury, get to
Yeah.
see it on a big screen. And
Yes.
especially if you're rewatching it, it's like you're going to pick up
Yes.
on things that you didn't pick up on before.
Yes.
And you're going to see more as writers. We're going to see, well, I guess everybody, you'll see more of the story structure.
Yes. And I, I used to go to the movies all the time by myself. I really don't like going by myself. Some people I know hear that and they're like, "Oh, that sounds awful." Um, I really like it. There's something just fantastic about the anticipation that's tied to the butter syrup they put on the popcorn for me. Like it's a one-to-one link.
Your
Um,
brain is like, oh, I know where we are.
yes, exactly, exactly. The same thing happens to me in airports. There's something about the smell of airports, and my brain's just like, "Ooh, we're going somewhere."
Yeah, airports tend to be brighter. Like the air
Yes.
is colder or filtered more, and
Yeah.
they're just brighter.
Yeah. Yeah. So I realize how much my brain likes some of those little traditions, and I want to indulge that a bit more. And plus, there's just been some really interesting films come out lately that for me are like, oh, this feels like a good way to get back into some creative storytelling. And so, um, Fallow Ground, inserting a bit of creativity with some of those traditions and patterns that I love. I think that's gonna be good. That's a good goal, I think.
Yeah, I think that's a fantastic goal. I think it's an achievable and
Yeah.
realistic goal.
Yeah. And a
So,
happy one. Like
yeah,
it's a good one to like enjoy, I think.
yeah.
What
I'm
about you?
rewatching I'm rewatching Orphan Black. I don't know if you've seen that.
Mhm. Yeah.
And I just like fell in love with how it's more for character development for
Oh
that
yeah. It's a
series.
good
I
one.
mean, the story is fantastic, but just character development. I mean, I highly
Mm.
recommend if you haven't seen the original Orphan Black, because I know there's a new one out that we're wanting to watch too.
Okay.
So, but yeah, I mean, it's always trying to find good casting, good writing, and watch what they do to help, absorb that for into our skill
Oh yeah.
is
Uh,
research.
yeah. And that the one actress plays all those roles, which I think is fantastic too.
Yeah,
But
Tatiana Masley.
yes, I think that's right.
She plays the She-Hulk now.
Yes.
She's an amazing actress. I don't
Her
know why she's
range.
not cast in more thing.
I know her range is extraordinary. Just
It is.
extraordinary. Um that it yeah, that role itself is an interesting study, isn't it?
Yeah,
Um
yeah. And I think that's why I needed to step back. I was kind of burnt out and stuff. And
yeah.
and I was scrolling through and I was like, oh, I remember I really love this show. And then I first episode, I was already hooked and just
Yeah.
thinking, oh my gosh, I forgot how well they did this show with the character development and it's her playing
Yeah.
like 5+ characters,
Yeah.
which is great.
That pilot I remember being really impressed by, just watching the pilot and being like, "Oh dang, this is going to be good."
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
we enjoyed it. And the we were just talking before too, how Stranger Things has
Yes.
also done an amazing job with their casting, their character development, their story plot.
Yeah. So we went last night. That was our celebration for New Year's Eve. We went to the theater and we watched the finale of Stranger Things. And I won't do spoilers.
Did you
But
get your popcorn?
you know what? I went with a delicious salty bagel with a side of nacho cheese and
Oh,
some
shut the
uh
front door. They gave you a bagel.
no, it
Oh,
was sorry, it wasn't a bagel, it was a pretzel. It was a salted
pretzel.
pretzel with
Okay.
the nacho cheese, and then I
Still
did the
carbs.
sweet top ropes.
Um,
And I would try to be a polite moviegoer. I opened all of my things before the thing started so I wouldn't be crinkling packets or anything. Like I tried.
Very
Um,
considerate. Very considerate. Nice.
I will I will say it was one of two like theater experiences that I had last year where I really do think there was something again about the pattern and tradition of going to the movies that really affected the audience, and I think that in turn contributed to um the experience of watching the film. It happened with Pride and Prejudice because they did a re-release of the 25th anniversary or 20th anniversary or something. The one with Keira Knightley and Matthew McFadden.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and and of course this one was a special like finale series finale movie length episode that
Yeah.
was going in, and it was the night it dropped and like the whole thing. Um, and so there is something I think really special. It's almost like the baby sister of live theater to me because you get that audience response even if you don't get the in exchange with live actors. So that was super satisfying to me. And it's so interesting when you hear like how many people are in a theater, like say 100 people, just all kind of collectively gasp or
Yeah.
cheer or
Yeah.
respond to the material. There's something really incredible about that. Um, I really, really enjoyed that aspect of it in and of itself, the actual experiencing of it. Um, And same thing happened when I went to Pride and Prejudice earlier this year. It was a fairly full theater, and the gal next to me, like when there was certain moments, she'd seen the film before and knew the moments, but she like actually reached over and like grabbed my arm, and she was like, because she was so invested in the moments, and I loved it. I thought it
Oh.
was great. She was so sweet. She's like, I'm so sorry I grabbed your arm, and I'm like, it's fine, you're good. She's like, it's just so exciting. I was like, I get it. I really get it. Um,
I, I think the only
so,
time I've ever had that feeling is when I watched The Matrix for the first time in the theater.
oh, really? Yeah.
I mean, I literally sat up in my seat and scooted to like lean on the seat. And I remember thinking, what am I watching right now? It
Hmm.
was just so amazing. And I was like, I just remember all my friends, we were just like, oh, and it's that opening scene with Trinity. And I'm just
Yeah.
like, what are we watching right now?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's probably a feeling that sense is probably what I chase when I go to cinema. I want to experience some element of that, either
Yeah.
characters or storytelling or like The Matrix was so revolutionary because of some of the techniques they were using. Like they kind of
Yes.
invented these techniques to actually
What
film.
is that? Like the cinematography and stuff like
Yeah,
that. And yeah.
the actual technical elements of it
Hmm.
were revolutionary, and so it had never been done before. And so, yeah, I think there is that sense of you really want story to grab you and have that experience of being grabbed.
Yeah,
It's not,
I am a visual person.
yeah.
So going to the movies, I've always been a movie person, more than a reading person.
Mm,
Um, so I completely understand the enjoyment of going to the movies and watching movies at home and just watching things.
yeah.
I don't know about you, but when you think of a scene, does it play out in your head like a scene, like a movie scene?
Writing, yes. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
Um,
same.
but I don't have that same, it's interesting. I don't have the same response. Like it's something else happens when I read.
Yes.
And I
Well,
don't know if I could quite put my finger on what that is.
yeah, it's not, you're not processing it as a visual. You're processing it as like you're just listening to the story or you're reading the story and you're just processing it as a story.
Well, see, now you're getting into some deeper stuff because when I read a book, I have a different experience than when I listen to a book. It's a
Hmm.
different it's a
Like
different thing in me.
processing, brain
Yeah.
process. Hmm. Interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't visualize things necessarily when I'm reading or listening to a story. Um, but at the same time, my brain understands what's happening. That's weird, right?
Yeah. This it's
All
a
right.
I'm in a different space though when I'm writing versus
If
reading versus
anybody understands what's happening to our brains, just message us.
there's probably some very logical neurological reason
I
for this,
know.
but it is different. Yeah. Yeah. Which I think is why I really love storytelling in all different modalities. Like
Oh yeah.
I really do. I'll take it however it comes. It's good. I can enjoy something from every avenue. Um, yeah, and I think, well, here's the other thing too. And I think this is what fascinates me about especially TV is the community that was built around Stranger Things. Like all of us in that theater, like all of us essentially probably strangers to each other, but we're all showing up
Yeah.
to see this finale. And it's, I remember do you remember Lost? When Lost was on the
I
TV
didn't
show?
watch it, but I know it. Yes.
So that was another one where there was community built around it. And so it was jumping on the internet to read someone's blog who was like giving us a breakdown of the episode and comments and theories, and it was engaging with friends who'd seen it. We went through a couple of seasons where we were having people over at our house to have dinner, and then we'd do the watch. There's a watch party every week, every time the episode came out.
That
So
is awesome.
yeah, and then we'd sit around like
What
theorizing
just
and trying to
happened?
figure out what was going. Yeah, and so there was a lot of buzz on the internet too, mostly through blogs, but of people engaging about the story. And in my mind, that series didn't end in a way that was satisfying for most people. And I think the difference is now, of course, a lot of writers have learned from what happened with Lost and are now much more invested in finishing series well, I think. And so doing a very long movie length release in the theaters was a good move, I think, strategically in terms of marketing and whatever. But also, I think it was a really satisfying way to wrap up the community that existed because of Stranger Things. So, um, I'm going to go out on a limb and say I think that they did a good job of wrapping it up. No form of storytelling that I found is perfect, of course.
Yeah.
But given the challenges that they set themselves, one of which is they had a monolithically large cast to manage. And I think that got away from them at times, just in general over the series. But given that challenge, I think if you're looking at sort of the design of the show and the lore, the whole Dungeons and Dragons thing that they had running through the whole series, I think they did a good job. I'll stop there.
I know. Yeah. We haven't seen the last, is it one or two episodes? I don't know that aired last night.
One, it was just a really
Yeah.
long one. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're gonna watch that later. We're really excited. It's funny that you mentioned about community and everything regarding like TV shows and I mean even books, but I recently saw a video scrolling on TikTok or something with Rob Reiner.
Mm-hmm.
I believe it was Rob Reiner. Yeah, it was him. And he was talking about All in the Family. And he was on Jimmy Fallon and he was addressing the audience saying how things have changed with TV. Like every night you would meet on the couch at Monday night at 7 o'clock to watch a show, and you knew everyone in the country or the world was sitting there watching that show at the same time.
Yeah.
And he was like, that was a community thing. Like everybody went to watch Friends, everybody went to watch, Seinfeld or these shows that people were just drawn to Wednesday nights or Thursday nights at 8 o'clock. And he was like, we kind of lost that a little now with streaming.
Yeah.
Where but like you said, now there's other ways to connect for community blogs, online, social media.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we naturally look for that connection to talk about things we
Yeah.
enjoy.
Totally.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
And I think it's interesting too, because this show was obviously Stranger Things was set in the 80s. And I've noticed a very distinctive difference between people who grew up in the 80s and people who didn't, and how they
For
respond to the
sure.
show. That has been fascinating to me because it's a pretty big generational divide there. Um, and there were even a couple of times watching it where one of my kids would say, is that really what it was like in the 80s? And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, geez, like we somehow lived
I think they
in
actually
in the olden days.
were, well, I know. I actually think they told the 80s in a gentler light.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Yeah. There were elements where I'm like, they've softened that a lot so that it
Oh,
would
yes.
be more receptive to a modern audience. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. There was a movie called Total Killer. I can't remember. With the girl who played the new Sabrina. Anyway, she did this movie Total Killer where she goes back in time to the 80s. Now that one was pretty spot on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. Where there were like high school kids and they would say things and she'd be like, dude, you can't say that.
Hmm.
Like, because nowadays it's like, you can't say that. So I found that movie to be kind of spot on more to how it was in high school in the 80s.
Interesting.
So
Yeah.
I can't remember. I think it was Total Killer or something, but it was an interesting, it's interesting to see how people try to replicate a certain era. And it's like, are they going softer? How are they presenting it?
Yeah.
Sorry, got off track there.
No,
That's how
no,
my
it's
mind
good.
works.
Have you seen Mad Men? Is that a show you've watched?
I have not, but I've seen clips and I've always said, this looks like such a good show. And I like John Hamm and I like the girl. What's her? I don't know her name. The she was she's like the secretary girl.
Peggy?
Do you think so?
That was the character name. That's not the actress name.
Yeah.
Um, yes. That one was an interesting one when you look at that going back in time, because that goes back. I know I lived in the olden times in the 80s, but this goes back even further.
Yeah, that one's more like the
It
40s
was
or 50s.
no, it was I think the one of the first seasons dealt with 59 into 60, and then I think it went
Oh.
in maybe it went 69 into 7 into the 70s even. So I can't remember exactly the timeline, but I remember them celebrating those decade transitions in the show.
Hmm.
So it was probably more reflective of my parents' experience. But it was even interesting for me to jump back those 20 years before I was born and follow some of the things. There was one scene that really stood out to me, and it's around online, but Don Draper and his family go on a picnic. And this is one of the things I think they did really, really well in that show in terms of like time and audience, time sets like setting an audience, is they subverted expectations constantly. And I think that was one of the very clever ways that they showed the um like societal differences. So they go on a picnic and they end the picnic and he says, I'll go put the kids in the car. We'll go to the car. And she says, okay, I'll clean up. And I'm thinking like the expectation as you're sitting there is she's going to put everything together and pack it all up. And it'll take a few beats before she joins them back at the car. And it's not, it's like almost instantaneous. She kind of just stands up and just lifts the picnic rug up and all the trash just goes flying in the air and down the hill. And she wraps up the picnic blanket and like shoves it I think she like shoves it in the bus or something and then just walks off. And it's just a complete like that's I missed I missed out on that part of Stranger Things because I lived in that. I lived in that era. Do you know what I mean? Whereas
Yeah.
I think that's the same experience my kids had of some of those 80s moments where to me it was normal. And for them, it was a lived memory for me. And for them, it was this jarring
Like,
moment of subverting
yeah.
expectations.
But
Yeah.
then when you look at something that happens during your parents, and that
Yes.
would have been normal for them. I
Right.
remember when throwing trash was normal, like you
Yes.
know,
There were PSAs that were on television and other places that pushed those notions of like cleaning up after yourself and don't leave trash, and like those were very active sort of public pushes in the years that followed to try and change people's
yeah.
ideas about those things.
But
Probably
that's
similar.
so funny.
I know, isn't it? It's
You're
probably
like,
very similar to what I noticed when they stopped allowing smoking in side
yes.
buildings in the 80s and 90s. That again, that PSA push to like be courteous towards other people and all these other things. So I missed I missed
Wear
those.
seatbelts. Like that
Yes,
was
yeah, yeah, yeah. Where it was
my
this,
mom used to tell us that when they were kids, they would just pile in the car, kids laying in the back
yeah,
window, just everywhere.
and
And then they
and
started pushing, you got to
yeah,
wear a seatbelt.
yeah, and one person proceed and like yeah. I remember as a kid being piled into someone's station wagon. We were going a short distance, not very far at all, and we may not have even been on public roads. But I remember the sense of like, but we can't do that. We have to wear a seatbelt, and it's it's because of
Yep.
that push. It's because of that um, societal push, that public service, awareness and announcements that definitely contributed to those things. So, yeah, it is
Yeah.
it is fascinating when you are looking at a setting that is in decades past. It's
Yeah.
very interesting.
Which good for the shows that can pull it off and do
Oh
their
yeah,
research and bring us to that era
yeah,
and make us be like, what? And
yeah,
then make certain other generations be like, oh, yeah, that's normal.
yeah, yeah.
Good for
Which,
them.
as a historical fiction writer, is one of the challenges. If I can just tie it back real quick, the when I see when I see female characters acting with a very modern sensibility, sometimes I find that very like it pulls me out of the story. Because while there were certainly very revolutionary and rebellious female characters in historical times, they were still only revolutionary and rebellious in the context that they were in.
Yes.
They weren't that way in our context. And so we look back and identify, oh, that's a feminist thing, or that's a, you know, like a social thing, or what we can put labels on it. But that's not the mindset that they were in. And it's
No.
the books that can pull that off in a way that is like subtly can give context to those rebellions. I find that the
Yeah.
most interesting.
Yeah. When you write your historical fiction,
Yeah.
um, I wonder how do you make sure that the era is represented in their dialogue, in the setting, in their behaviors? Like how do you the modern reactions definitely, but I've always found like even in just romantasy or fantasy books where they're castles and princesses, no electricity, and it's like but it's like the female main character is it's very modern feeling.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's tricky too because when you go back in time, you're also looking at people speaking differently, and sometimes that way of speech isn't our reading comprehension, our listening comprehension doesn't necessarily work to the same rubric
Yes.
that it did back then. And so you have to figure out ways to try and convey ideas that maybe are archaic sounding without necessarily copying exactly. It's kind of like the idea of how you write accents. You want them to
Mhm.
come across as accurate, but at the same time, you can't, if you were to write them exactly as dictation dictated.
That itself would pull people from,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. So you're trying to figure out ways as a writer to make ideas and concepts and
I
truths
really,
accessible.
I really think Bridgerton did a fantastic job with that, where it's like they had this historical vibe, but yet they kept the terminology and the dialogue like a mix between modern and historical.
I would argue that I don't think Bridgerton is intended to be or is
Historical.
historical. That's a whole nother conversation.
But for you, who is like really into history and really, a historical fiction writer,
Yeah.
so I can see you having that kind of side of the story.
Yeah.
Whereas for me, visually, it's historical. Visually,
Is it though?
I mean, they they look Victorian.
It's not even set in the Victorian era, so I'm impressed that you find them Victorian looking. They're meant to be Regency. That's
Oh,
interesting. See,
yeah.
but this is the
See,
thing.
I'm just not familiar with, yeah.
And you're like it's less about accurate costuming and more about just giving the impressions. It's about impressions, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is the whole, that's why I would argue it's not actually it's not historical fiction at all. It's actually, I think it falls under different genre, but yeah.
You don't think it falls under anything having to do with historical anything?
Yes, but I mean it's a historical reimagining for starters, which to me
Okay.
puts it into it's a speculative genre. I wouldn't say it's necessarily a
That's
straight historical
interesting.
fiction.
Okay. I get
Yeah.
that. I get it.
Yeah. So it's essentially a fantasy. But then if you were to extend that out, you could probably get into a very lengthy conversation about how all historical fiction is essentially a fantasy.
Yeah.
Because
I mean,
unless you were there and lived it, I mean, you get into like source context and all these other things, and you realize much of what we understand as history is made up.
well, and it makes sense to me when you say like an alternate world or a
Yeah.
reimagining,
Yeah.
because that makes sense.
Yeah. And
So,
within that context, it
yeah.
succeeds at what it's setting out to do. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think my error, and probably a lot of people, is they just jump to saying, oh, it's historical fantasy. But it's probably not historically accurate.
Definitely not historically accurate. But if you put it in the category of a historical reimagining or a historical fantasy, then I would say it achieves exactly what it needs to.
Yeah. Because
Yeah.
when I like my current story is an alternate or um, an Old West prairie land uh, reimagining.
Hmm.
So that's why it's like, oh, okay, I get it because I'm doing that. And
See, I would argue I think you have a harder time of it than I do.
you heard a time at writing it.
No, as in I set a story in 1819. I can go to all sorts of sources to get information. Like I just pick a place and I can look at newspapers and I can look at original source material, books that were written during that time. Um, not at any time in history, but obviously I'm just using that as an example, but like I have like original sources I can read. I can
Yes. And
like,
actual places, right?
exactly. Yeah.
Yes.
So
Where
um
mine are not actual places, they're
right.
fantasy made up. But
Right.
a potato is a potato in my world. So a potato in real world is also a potato in my fantasy world.
Sure. But your potato has to exist within a structure
Yeah.
that you have to maintain and keep consistent based on created norms. I
Yes.
have the norms given to me and I can create around and inside those norms. But I have a pre-existing framework. You don't. You have to build the pre-existing framework. And I think in that sense, the challenge, I think that you have a greater level of challenge in that sense because I just have
I
to.
think you have a challenge. That's so much research. I mean, yes, it's there, but like you said, you got to research the newspapers, you got to research the history facts. Um, the rivers are already established, so you can't change the direction of a river, or you can't change a building, location. So you've got to know where everything is. Me, I'm just like, I'm just going to put it here.
So, okay, sure. I guess the difference being I like finding out which way the river's traveling, and
Yes.
I have been to and grown up in places that I'm writing about. And so, in that sense, like the lay of the land, yes, is already it's innate for me. I sort of already know some of those details. And I like going back into newspapers and looking for things. It's I like the research part of it. It brings me a lot of
Well,
energy.
yes, your input. You are
Yes.
like learn, and
Yeah.
it's not just for your storytelling either. It's for your
Just
enjoyment.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which is awesome.
So in that sense, the idea of having to make something up and stay consistent within it sounds worse to me. That does not sound like because you remember we talked about this. We talked about do you remember I talked to you about the near future book that I wrote, the speculative romance?
Oh, yes.
Um, that to me was stepping into a world that I had to create those norms because it was near future, but it was not a full like science fiction. It was just sort of mildly speculative. And choosing, because in that sense, because you're looking forward, you have a framework, but you're choosing how to break that framework
Okay.
to make it near future. Like, what are the possibilities of science moving forward, and how does that shape a society? That was way harder for me because it all has to have plausibility.
Hmm. Oh, yeah.
And yeah, I found that harder. And it's just fascinating to me. Like, I know some people will be like, "Oh, that's the easy part." It wasn't for me. That was a lot harder. So
Well, that's why we're all different writers,
yeah,
and we're all different readers, so
yeah,
we have to trust the reader to kind of understand what we're explaining or the direction we're going, but
yeah,
not every reader may. So,
yeah. And I think that's where consistency is one of those really tricky things. So for me in historical fiction, I have to try and make sure that I'm consistent within a world that is already established to a lot of people, especially people who are history fans.
yeah.
You have to create consistency within a world that you've constructed. So you have to like know your own lore inside and out in a way that
And I have to be able to present it and bring people into that world.
right.
Yeah. Which is
Oh,
tricky. And I usually tend to keep it as simple as possible. I am not a high world builder. I like keeping things relatable and
mm,
easy for people to picture, I guess. Um, I always give there's some people out there who can create elaborate fantasy worlds, and props to them, because that kind of development would lose my interest. Like, what, as a reader, like some of those really high fantasy stories I can watch as a movie, but I cannot read in a book.
mm,
So I try to write how I would read. I don't know if
yeah,
that makes sense.
yeah, totally. Um, do you so you've shifted a bit. You did write fantasy. You've shifted into like a Western fantasy type genre, and you have a couple different projects in that genre,
Yeah.
um, are you able to borrow, because they're not in the same world, are they?
No, the two different Western fantasy stories I'm writing are in two different story worlds. Um, but I'm trying to stick with a niche that
Okay,
I can explore more of for that pen name.
got it.
So, um,
So do you find
which,
that there's crossover that you can utilize for both worlds, even though they're different and but they're in the same genre? Like, can you do that? Or do you have to completely create from scratch each of your
oh, I usually do scratch. Like it's a whole new
easy
story world. Yeah. Just
magic system and
because
everything?
it's, oh yeah, it's just easier for me to, like when I write a story, it's like I'm focused on watching a TV show and I can watch multiple TV shows. So I could watch Orphan Black. And then when
Hmm.
I'm done with an episode, I can go watch Stranger Things. Or then
Hmm.
I can even jump into, uh, a drama mystery series. And I can keep the characters separate. I can keep the story separate. And I can remember them, retain them. So, like a few years later, if you asked me, I'd probably remember most of it. So when
Yeah.
I'm writing, I can literally switch my brain. We're not in this story. We're in this story. We're in this magic system. We're in this setting. We're with these characters. And yeah, I'm definitely a plantser too.
Yeah.
So that's why I don't dive too much into world building because things change and my brain doesn't see things until I'm in the scene. So
Mm.
a lot of my foreshadowing, a lot of my storytelling is like, oh, we can go in this direction. We could plant something here because I know it'll happen there.
Yeah. So
It's
interesting.
weird. My brain is just like, woof, all over the place. But I shifted so many times. I've pivoted. Like I started with YA science fantasy.
Okay.
And I enjoyed writing that and I may write it again. But then I wanted to write to market, which a lot of people are like, don't write to market. And this is another whole conversation we can have down the
Mm.
road of writing to market versus writing for yourself. And I wanted to try writing to market. And so I wrote YA fantasy. Well, behold, I don't know if you've noticed over the past few years, YA fantasy is not really trending that much anymore.
Yeah.
Um, so now it's moving more into adult fantasy and even more romance elements, whether it's romantic fantasy, which is just fantasy with really strong romance subplots,
Hmm.
or romantasy, which is basically 50-50. The
Right.
story has to have romance tied in order for it to work.
Yeah.
And so that is why I am now pivoting again into the but I'm narrowing a niche per Sasha. She has always said, if you're going to go and write to market, try to find a narrow or a niche that
Hmm.
will make you distinct or separate you from the other books in that genre. So that's when I was just like, let's do Western because I think I saw something about like My Little House, not My Little Pony, uh, Little House on the Prairie was kind of like getting a reboot, and everybody was really into Yellowstone. And so I watched like 1883. So when I write my Western stories, I literally hear Elsa's voice in my head from 1883
Yeah.
and that kind of scene to help me stay in that kind of time era that I want my stories to be in.
Yeah.
So I've pivoted a lot. And there's nothing I feel like people should. If you feel like you want to try things,
Well, and does it bring you joy? I think is the other part of it too. Like, do you like exploring a new genre? Do you feel like you have the energy when you're doing that to get the words to complete the projects? And if it works for you, and it seems to have done that,
Yeah.
I think it's worth it.
It brings me joy to write these kinds of stories, but it's harder on the actual business side and marketing side
Mhm.
because you're shifting audiences with each new pivot. And so basically you're
Yeah.
starting from zero with each new pivot. And and that's
Yeah.
the hard, frustrating part. And so, oh, did we? Okay. It's sorry, my internet kind of wonk. But yeah, it's more or less about, you know, maintaining the audience's interest and follow and getting that audience to stay with you as you pivot. But
Yeah.
that's why I created the pen name because I didn't want the YA readers reading adult content.
Yeah.
So even though
Well,
a majority of my readers for my YA fantasy series are adults,
right.
but there could be a couple of teenagers or, in there, and I just didn't want to risk it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a tricky one. So I don't think I heard from you what your goals are this year. Do you have any goals is such a heavy, burdensome word sometimes. Do you have any ideas about how you would like to either switch things up or keep things the same? I guess is probably a good question too.
Well, for 2026, I have a lot of events planned where I have to travel to. And I had done a lot of events in 2024, but majority of them were local, and there was only like one or two that was out of state. But this year, I'm doing pretty much all of them are like I need a hotel.
Yeah.
So my goal for 2026 is to do a lot more networking and to really find my readers,
Yeah. Yeah.
and just explore. I'm in input as well. So I'm just exploring like ways to connect with readers, but also other ways in the publishing industry where we can reach readers um, through different outlets. So I don't know. I'm always just looking for input, and I'm constantly trying things. It's a curse, but a blessing. And
Yeah. I mean, I think we could probably say that about every single Clifton strength, right? There's like the pros and cons for each one.
yeah,
Yeah. Um, and that I think that whole input thing is why the fallow field concept is so interesting to me, and why I think it has been and will continue. I think it will become more so a very important aspect of my creative process, because being able to identify that sort of gives those quiet moments an intentionality.
yeah,
It's not a lack, it's not a deficit. It's not, do you know what I mean? It's not yeah, I think it changes the lens on that, so that those moments are not a sign of deficiency. They're actually a restorative, um, intentionally restorative. Um, yeah. And how are you feeling about the impact of like that much travel on your schedule and family and things like that? Because that obviously that's a huge
yeah.
undertaking.
Well, I spaced it out so it shouldn't be too much of a problem, like with the family and everything.
Mhm.
Um, and I have a friend coming with me for majority of them, so we'll be doing road trips. Um, but I think, yeah, it's at that point, like when you reach, I don't know what they say, when you publish 5 books, you should be getting a certain number of sales each month. You should be doing this, and I'm not there. Um, and I'll be publishing number 5 well, actually, it'll be number 7 in February. So it's like I feel like I'm at that crest or that mountain where it's like, okay, I need to start. I'm supposed to be at this point for the author journey, and I'm not there. And it's very frustrating. And
You know
yeah,
what Becca Symes would say?
what would Becca say?
Becca, you know what Becca would say? Becca would say, QTP, question the premise.
TP?
QTP,
Oh,
question the
QTP.
premise. Mm-hmm.
What does that mean? Like question the route?
The premise is that you should be somewhere at book 5.
I'm past book 5,
Okay.
almost.
Yeah, she would. I think that the whole question, the premise is interesting. The other thing I would say is there are so many writers who seem to say it was book 12 for me, or it was this, or was that the other. I think the challenge that you have is that you have pivoted through the 5, maybe,
Yeah. Oh, that's definitely it.
which is where I think like you've floated some ideas to me about like series and things like that that I think could work to your advantage given the situation that you're in. But
Yeah,
I mean, you've challenged me on this too. Like, who says you need to be this place and the other
I
place? Like,
know.
what's the timeline that you think you're holding yourself to that you think you have to be XYZ? So,
I
yeah,
think you're right with the pivoting because, like, yes, I have a certain number of books under my belt, but I don't have a certain number of books under my belt in each genre. You
right.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I feel like looking at it that way helps, but I just can't sit still. I'm constantly like, let's do this, let's do this. So I think taking this new uh shorter is better. So I feel like so readers devour books and then they're like, when's the next one coming out? And it's like it's for fantasy writers, it's gonna take us some time. So like with one of the Western romantic fantasy series, I've decided to write short novels. So
Right.
that way I can get at least 2 out a year. And um and I think it's anything over 40K, 40,000 words is considered a novel.
That's,
So
yeah. Well, and then that's probably people who would argue what numbers are what. But my understanding was anything under 40,000 is considered a novella.
yes, yes. So
Yeah.
I'm trying to aim for 50,000.
Okay.
And I feel like I'm calling them episodes. I don't actually physically call them episodes, but they're like TV episodes.
Right.
And so I'm trying to do 6 books or 6 episodes per season or per series 1, season 1. And this is, I don't know. I don't know if it'll work or not, but like I said, I'm always trying something. We'll see what comes of it.
Someone commented on threads recently, and I think this has been it's made its rounds, but the joy that comes of finding an author who has an established backlist where you get access their books through something and you just love their writing so much and you look them up and you see, oh my gosh, there's like 15 odd books that they've written. I have a couple writers like that where I've ended up collecting all of their just everything they write because it's a point of joy. Um, I think there's something to that. And I mean, you think about it though, 15 novels is like it's a heck of a lot of books.
It
That's a heck of
is.
a career. Like that's just, I mean, even if you're writing full time, that's still represents a lot of years of work. So it's no
Yeah.
small thing to find that. But there is something extraordinary as a reader to find a writer who has a backlist like that, where you're like, oh my gosh, I just want to read everything.
Because we read so fast. We
Right.
devour these books.
Oh
And to
yeah.
find that backlist, yeah, that's
Yeah.
like a treasure in the sand
It
and the
is.
beach.
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely. Like X marks the spot, and then you're rich for the
Yes.
next 12 months. Yes,
Yes.
because you're absolutely right. It does feel like that. There's something very exhilarating about that. And I can read so many more books in a lifetime than I could ever write. It's a wonderful ratio for
Yeah.
readers. So it's definitely like that idea has shifted how I perceive my writing, where it's not just all about one book. There's not a whole career made off of this one book. It's this idea of
Yes.
like creating a treasure chest for a reader in the next couple of decades to kind of stumble upon a book and be like, oh my God, there's like a
Well,
treasure chest
you
of,
think about the treehouse, what the Magic Treehouse,
oh yeah,
or the Babysitter Club books,
yeah,
or those short novels where there's like 20 of them. And kids would just be like, oh, I'm on book six. Now I'm going to book eight. Now I'm on book 12. And it's like, well, I feel like adult readers would want something like that too.
oh yeah, they do. Absolutely. Yeah. And
And you
it's
throw
not
some spice in there, forget it.
looking at you, Stella Riley. Um, she's been one of mine. I find her books. I could do a whole study on her writing in the sense that they're so accessible, and yet there's things in there where I'm like, oh, she's a very clever writer. Um, Georgette Hare was another one for me where I read one and then I read everything she ever wrote. And when I completed her entire library of books, um, and this was long after she'd passed away, but when I finished the whole collection, I was just like, well, there's nothing for it. I just got to go back and read them all again. And that's the joy.
Yeah. Or that becomes a trend where, you find another author with a backlist,
Yes.
like this is enjoyable for me to
Yes.
know there's all these books I can just devour.
Yeah.
So hashtag goals.
Hashtag goals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm definitely going to focus less on marketing, like
Okay.
social media. Like I just really want to focus on posting the essential stuff. Like,
Okay.
the events, the book releases, the progress. I'm just really just I want to focus more on writing and being able to create these books.
Yeah.
So
I,
we'll see how that goes too.
yeah.
As I have a planner here to plan out social media marketing. So
Show me your planner. I want to see.
oh well, this is the 2025 one where we just I write out,
Oh, I like that.
everything that
Yeah, it's very clear and straightforward.
I haven't done January, so I'm going to work on January later. But
Now,
then I
did
have
you
my other planner for
your
like my
other?
projects where it's like this is what I have to
Oh,
have done
wow.
for all my different like writing projects, the due dates, the
Yeah.
line editor stuff, and
Yeah.
so just to make sure I stay on task, events, everything. Like that's
Wow.
not marketing, that's project planning.
Project planning. And you do better with an analog system like that versus digital?
I do. I'm a visual person.
Okay.
So I also use Google Calendar,
Okay.
but the Google Calendar is more for just those big milestones like, oh, I have to send my manuscript to my editor tomorrow.
Right.
I have events and stuff like that. But for other things like, make sure we've reached this word count by this date, or, put up a post about arcs available now, or
Mhm.
that kind of stuff, um, goes in there. So I can just
Hats off
see
to you.
that I'm on track.
That looks amazing. I am at once jealous and also overwhelmed looking at that.
Oh, it's like I think Sasha, she has that giant calendar. And at one point
Yes.
I was tempted just to do something like that, but it's so small that I don't think I can write everything. And having that full year calendar, that would be overwhelming for me. I just want to see a month at a time.
Yeah, I went looking. I went looking at options because there's very specific calendar needs I have for my job, and so I went on a deep dive at the end of November trying to figure out how I wanted to represent the year. And the idea of having the whole year planned out like that on the wall, like I could totally understand the idea is appealing in some ways. And I think that I think there's probably a sense of predictability that would appeal to some people about that giant, well, that big a visual. But I came to the same conclusion just looking at proportions and things like that of number one, like what space in my house where would I put it essentially
Yeah.
that wouldn't be completely obnoxious. It's not like I have a break room or an office at home to like do that for. But I came to realize too, I would need it working in conjunction with some other system for it to be helpful. So I did find some like years represented, but in a smaller context. I think it was maybe it was like an 11 by 17 or something like that, which I thought, okay, I could definitely like see that color coded with weekends and things like that to kind of get a shape of things.
Yeah. Yeah.
But again, I think I'd probably need some other kind of system that was, like you said, a month by month. Now, did you design your book or do you
No,
buy
this one
those books?
I bought this one on Amazon. It's a 5-year planner. So
Okay.
I've had a 2-year planner before, but I got the 5 years so that way I could, because I'm doing that series that has
Mhm.
multiple seasons. And so if I do 6 books per season and I have 3 seasons already outlined, so that's 18 books. I wanted to kind of get an idea of when I wanted to release them, when I could write them in conjunction. Is conjunction the right word? To the events, family vacations. We've got a kid graduating high school in 2026. So it's like all these other things, I need to see
Yeah.
everything together. And then that helps me book my editors. That helps me book or plan out when I can do arc, you know? So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, so I've done spreadsheets before,
Yeah.
but
You shared some of them
because
with me.
but because they're in the computer and they're not right there in my face,
Yeah.
I don't think about them.
Interesting. So you
So
need it
out of
like
sight, out of mind. So
touchable
I need
and
something.
yeah.
I try to get in the habit of like a first manuscript challenge, but take my coffee, come over and look at the planners and just remind myself where we are in our publishing process.
Yeah.
So,
I it's interesting, like this probably delves into a completely different topic, but I find planners like that really intimidating. And it's not because I don't enjoy planning. I love planning. I could fill a 5-year planner very easily. But I think I have like some trauma around planning.
you need post-it notes. Like I got really pretty like post-it notes. So it's like you
Yeah.
can like you can move them. So it's not as permanent. So this way
Like
it's
that
like not
the
like
moving
when
thing.
January came, I was
Yes.
like, oh, I'm not going to be able to do this then. And so I could move the post-it notes. It's like
Okay.
it's not as permanent. Like I didn't reach that goal, but I
Right.
can move that goal.
Okay. Because see, I think there is a sense of the rigidity of planning that I
Mm-hmm.
appeals to me in a really strong way. But when I can't fulfill those things, it creates a lot of stress for me. And it's interesting because we used a fairly like a good planner in high school, like, and we had like whole classes about like goal setting and planning to what is it? If you fail to plan, you plan to fail, those type of things. And it was sort of all it was very coachy and I think very um there was systems in there that I think worked for maybe probably many people. And I think there's a process in there that's good in like a general basic.
Yeah.
Yeah, if
But you
you,
have to make it your own. Yeah.
and that's the part where I think it sort of failed some of us neurodivergent people because it was that sense of like, this is the way to do it. And if you don't fit this system, you're broken and you have issues and you need to resolve them. And there was this definite sense of like, there's a right way to do it and a wrong way to do it,
Yeah. No.
which
I
of
like to
course
think of it
stinks.
as learning about yourself. So
Yes,
in
there was
here,
less about that. And
yeah, they should focus more
yeah,
on using a planner to learn more about your writing habits,
right.
your timelines, what
Yes.
you're able to do.
Yeah.
So that's another nice thing about the planners. You don't have to look at it as you're setting goals. You can look at it as you're researching your own habits. You're researching, like you start a project on this day and you aim to maybe have a certain word count by this day. But if you don't get it, you push it. And now you know you need this amount of time.
Yeah.
So it's more about like me finding what are my limits? What are feasible for me? So
I love,
try flipping it in your head.
yeah. I love that you look at that and you don't see rigidity. You see flexibility.
Yeah, research. I
Yeah.
see it's a study. It's a
It's a study.
I'm experimenting on myself.
Yeah. Yeah. Hacking yourself. Yes.
I'm hacking, yes.
Well, and see, that's where the tricky thing is if you steer away from having that, which I did for a long time, because it felt more gracious to myself not to hold like that anvil over my head about deadlines and things like that. And again, I was questioning the premise. Like, is this rigidity what defines me as a writer? Well, no, it doesn't. It's
Mhm.
not that I'm waking up and doing 500 words first thing in the morning. It's these other practices that I have, which are routine and are predictable and, these types of things. So, yeah, I think I would just have to figure out a way to make it mine. Also, do you ever find yourself looking forward 5 years and being like, well, crap, I'll be X number of years old?
I do. Sometimes I think I'm getting up there where it's like, are readers going to be interested in reading books written by a 50 plus year old woman?
Yeah.
It's like, but I mean, we act our age. So,
Do we though? I mean,
I mean, I still feel like
if
some
that's the
days
case, I've been 120 since I was 10 years old.
no, go the other way. Go the other way. But no, I do think about that. And it's
Yeah.
like if readers go to my Instagram page and they see, like, oh wow, she's a lot older than I thought she was. It's like, will that will that have a role in whether they decide to read my books or not?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I definitely think that everybody should know their limits
Hmm.
and understand that they change based on seasons, based on family, based on your external responsibilities. And so, everything, but within the year,
Sure.
January to December, that's pretty much not going to change from year to year. So, like, I know I don't get a lot done when the kids are home,
Right.
you know,
Right.
but next year may change. They're going off to college. So,
Okay. Yeah.
but for now, okay, in January and February and March you can get a lot more writing done because you know it's quieter, the kids are at school. So I don't know, I just
Yeah.
feel like researching and understanding limits can help people determine their publishing their like a realistic publishing goals.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Okay. I'll investigate. I'll report back next time and tell
Yes.
you what
Yeah,
I
do some research on yourself, experiment on yourself.
I mean, I could see the value in having a physical book of I could look back and observe, of course, but I think you're right, having like a physical book where it's like,
Journal.
yeah, something where it's like written
Yeah.
down as you go. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That could definitely be helpful.
I sidetrack a little. In high school, I used to keep a planner because I had 5 million planners, and one of them was what did I wear to school that day. So I
Really?
always made, oh yeah, so I could look back and see the last time I wore a sweatshirt or a shirt, or how did I
Oh
do
my
my hair
God.
last Monday? I was crazy.
Wow. Mine would have looked like this: uniform, uniform,
Ugh.
uniform, uniform again, summer
Someday, okay,
uniform,
I
winter
know the
uniform.
grass isn't always greener on the other side, but at the same time, it would have been nice some days not have to pick out an outfit and just know you're wearing a uniform.
There were perks for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm amazed that you kept track of those things. That's impressive.
Wow. My brain was always doing weird things.
You were organized, though. It sounds like you were sorting things
Oh,
in a
with it,
very specific way,
yeah, my room was a disaster, but
but your mind
in my
wasn't.
head, my priorities were what did I wear last Tuesday?
But you knew because you'd written it down.
I'd written it down. I had knew. Yeah, I'd known.
Right.
Oh, I know. So 2026, here we come.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, you on and stretch.
Hey, I want to share some gossip.
Ooh,
Um,
I don't think I have
some
any.
publishing gossip.
Ooh, tell me. Finishing my coffee. I
Okay.
was going to say tea, but it's coffee.
I don't know if we should do this regularly or not, but I had learned, I don't know if you know Backer and Taylor, which is the publishing company that distributes books to libraries and institutions like
Mhm.
colleges or whatever. They are closing.
What?
And yeah, they work closely with Ingram. So you know how Ingram has that master
Yeah,
list, the wide list.
right.
So Backer and Taylor is the publishing company that distributes to libraries and institutes, and they're closing. And they were recently bought out by Lakeside Book Company, which is a smaller
Interesting.
company.
Yes.
Um, and they will be absorbing the Backer and Taylor name. But according to the articles that a friend author had told me, is they're keeping all their managers, they're keeping all their employees, they're not letting them go. So that is a good thing.
Interesting.
So, um, I don't know if a lot of people know, but libraries don't normally stock books that are only published through KDP or Amazon.
Right.
So they use that list, the wide list through Ingram.
Yeah.
Um, so I don't know if a lot of people know that or not, but now you do, or go
Yeah.
research it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was something that was interesting. And also, speaking of Ingram, I don't. This is hearsay, but I don't know if it's true or not. Ingram Spark is getting rid of their fee for any kind of when you go into. I'm drawing a blank here. Like when you go in and you need to make fixes to your manuscript, and they
Yeah.
charge you
Like a
that fee.
fresh one. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So they're doing away with that fee supposedly.
Okay.
I
So,
think it was last year or the year before, they got rid of the upload fees.
right.
And then you had like 60 days or
There
90
was
days.
a time frame.
And then those that's the word I'm looking for, those revision fees would still kick in like $25 a file. Supposedly they're getting rid of that in 2026. Oh,
I I have thoughts, yes, but well, I think it's tricky because the word about town, and this again is just my anecdotal observations of when this comes up in socials, but there's a discontent that is brewing amongst indie authors about the way that they've structured pricing and fees and other things with Ingram. And um, there's issues with book returns causing people massive
Oh yeah.
issues. And um
I've lost
also,
a lot of, not a lot of money, but I've lost money if my book is set to accept returns.
right. But it's
Yes.
put some authors out to the tune of like tens of thousands of dollars in a hit, like a hit to their bank account, which is and it's interesting because some people are like, well, you need to read the terms and conditions, which are like 50 pages long. And the thing is that if your system hides details like that and
Hmm.
puts your business at risk like that, to me, that lack of transparency is it's a server, it's you're not serving the authors. Um, and here's
I
the thing that
agree.
I think is tricky for me because personally, I have not had good interactions with Ingram, their customer service at all. I would say of all the interactions I've had with customer service, like groups in their customer service, Ingram's has been the worst.
So I've
Um,
recently had a conversation about, just to pause for a second,
yeah,
about their service. And supposedly, their service was fantastic before the pandemic. And then something happened in the pandemic times to now, where Ingram's customer service has like it's gone downhill. I've heard a
right,
lot of authors say this, and people were speculating that it's because um, they are taking a lot. They're taking on a lot more than they can handle, and they're
sure,
not employing enough people in the customer service.
right.
And you're not the only one to feel the the
So
backlash.
between the risky lack of transparency for some writers, the customer service aspect of it, and the fact that the what's brewing in terms of broader discontent in socials, from what I can see, is that authors are feeling like they're getting like pennies on a book with the
Oh yeah.
pricing structure and fee structure there, to the point where it's like far, far less than KDP or KU, like by a trim, like a lot, by a lot. Um, yeah, in general, I feel like there's a sense of like it just is not the best option. It used to be the first option for authors going wide.
Yes. Yeah.
Definitely people are stepping away from that and looking at other things.
I think in 2025, at least the last, well, maybe in the middle or towards there was a big push for direct. A lot of authors were
Yeah.
standing together and they were pushing to readers, support direct, go to their author shop, go to their website and buy direct.
Hmm.
So,
Well, and the flip side of that now is that you have Amazon scraping personal stores and doing a buy for me feature for clients through Amazon, where they're basically putting up lists of private stores. And that's not just authors, it's other creatives as well.
oh,
Without
I didn't
finding
know
out,
that.
yeah, that's sort of been something that's popped up in the last 3 or so months in my feed about creatives who have intentionally stepped away from platforms like Amazon, who are trying to do their, like they have their own stores,
Yeah.
and Amazon's just creating listings based off of their, it's basically scraping the site and creating listings where Amazon will upcharge, kind of like how Instacart does it, upcharge from going into the store. It's like how they build profit margins, but where they kind of upcharge a little bit and then basically do the order on behalf of the customer through the private website. And I think there are things you can do to limit that scraping, but it's another aspect where um, instead of actually just improving the existing site, improving the margins in KU or KDP or other things, like in
Hmm.
making it better for the authors so that authors want to sell through you because you offer the very best
Yeah.
distribution, you offer the best royalties, you offer the best pricing structure. They build an entirely new system to rob authors of
I,
their
I have
choice.
not heard about that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's one of those things where I'm like, if you just did the right thing to start with, you could
Yeah.
probably make a hell of a lot more money. But yeah. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you had some tea to spill because that those were my two teas to spill for this episode in regards
It,
to publishing gossip.
well, I think it's tricky because obviously, and I mean, I work in an industry that's built on making a profit too. I mean, that's why they exist, right? And I can understand the desire, but then I think we also have to change like reader expectations in terms of, I think gone are the days where you can just buy books cheap in terms of like your
Yeah.
99 cent, 2.99, like that. Just I think we've moved past that. And I do think that creatives deserve to be paid for their work. So
Oh, definitely.
um I think
Yeah.
finding that balance between the demand and people, that price point where people are willing to pay it, but it also serves the authors and the platforms they use. It's I don't envy anyone who has to figure that stuff out.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, it's hard because with everything, the the cost to print books, and especially if you've got 500 plus pages,
mhm,
um, it's like, are readers going to pay for
yeah,
this book? But yeah, I don't know. We'll have to watch to see how the
it's gonna
trends
be an interesting
go
year.
with
Yeah.
everything in 2026, and maybe people, I mean, especially with special editions now being very trendy, but they're only trendy and influencers on social media. It's like a lot of the people I talk to in town, it's like they don't have a lot of special edition pretty books, book edges.
No.
Um, One of the local authors didn't even know they existed until like a few months ago. And she's like, how do I do this to my book? And I was like, oh,
Well, it entirely depends on which bubble of the algorithm you're in. Totally.
yes.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah.
But it's the readers, are they hardcore on social media, bookstagrammers, book influencers, TikTok
Yeah.
people, or are they just casual readers
Right.
interested in following certain authors, autobiographers?
Yeah.
So it's interesting. The
Yeah.
reader, the readerships. Wow, we touched on a lot.
We did. It's a good
Dang,
start to the year.
it is a good start. I feel good. I feel like we set some good goals. I feel
Mhm.
like we're going to have some fantastic milestones this year. So
Fingers crossed.
fingers, toes,
Everything. Just
everything, cross it all.
cross it all.
Yeah. So we can't guarantee what the next conversation will be.
No. Or when, apparently.
Yeah. So you're just coming along for our casual, candid conversation,
Yes.
whatever comes up.
Whatever comes up.
Yeah. So thank you for listening.
Yes. Thank you for listening. Hope you enjoyed your beverage of choice. And
Yes. Oh, by the way, we're Kimberly and CJ, if we forgot
yes,
to.
we're just breaking all the rules by doing the intros at the end. That's what we do. We're such rebels.
We are. I love it. All right. So until next time,
Until next
who knows
time,
when? Later,
Monday.
Gator.
Bye.